for fashion photography in the studio, there's a lot you can accomplish with one light. And so far, you know that you can use a beauty dish, you could use a softbox, you could use a silver reflector dish. But you can also venture into the realm of unusual modifiers, so things that most people don't have just lying around the studio. You could use a ring flash. Here we have a ring light. We're also going to look at a spot projection, so something that will actually project shapes and patterns onto your subject. And then also you can go into the realm of UV lights, so black lights. You don't need to stick with the traditional light modifiers because in fashion photography, it's all about breaking the rules. And that's what a lot of times makes image stand out, is the ability to pick different light modifiers, break the rules, do something that wouldn't be typical in portrait photography. So I'm going to start with a constant ring light, and I'm sure you've seen these before. They are constant fluorescent lights. Now, although they're fluorescent, they are daylight balanced, so you don't need to stick your camera on fluorescent white balance. They're actually balanced to be daylight. And these do not flash, they're not strobes, they're constant, so you can shoot on manual or you can shoot on aperture priority. And what they're going to do is, if you look in the catch lights of her eyes, which you'll see in the images, there's actually a circle that will surround her pupil or her iris. These come in a variety of different sizes. I prefer the bigger the better because it'll give you really big catch lights and it's going to give you more throw on the subject. Now, if you look at how we have her styled, when I'm doing fashion imagery, I pick clothing to fit the theme of the shoot. So kind of in one of the first looks, I was picking, she had nice skin tones and kind of warm colored hair, so I picked a gold ring. I styled for that shoot. Here, because of the ring light, it looks really nice with things that are metallic. So I have her in a shiny outfit. I have kind of a bright colored metallic lipstick. You have kind of the sheen on the face, as well as a gemmed necklace. So it makes use of the quality of light that a ring light provides. Now, really after that, it's kind of simple. I will shoot with either an 85mm 1.4 or a 70-200, typically. And I try to shoot wide open apertures, so I'm aiming to shoot at maybe 2.8 or 2.0, and that way I can make the focus really just on the eyes of the subject. Now, if I photograph her with the background way in the back, as it is now, it goes kind of pale and almost to black if there aren't any other ambient lights on. So if you look at the scene right now, I actually have the overhead kind of fluorescent lights, and those will actually detect on the background because this is constant light, not a strobe. It's not going to overpower it. If you wanted, say, to photograph her against the orange background, you want it to actually be orange, you would have to add another light or get her really close so that this ring light is hitting the background. So right now I'm just going to shoot kind of tight beauty shots that make use of the quality of light, pick up some of the reflections, and I'm going to try the 70-200, and then I might also try a couple shots with the 150 macro so you can see what really tight images look like. That's beautiful. And then your eyes right at me. Great. Beautiful. Right, oh, that's perfect. Yeah, do that. Great. And so what's really beautiful about this is, since that frontal quality of light, since it's right centered, it's picking up a really nice sheen on her cheekbones, which is going to make them pop out, and it's really flattering. And then the way she's bringing up her arms, it kind of just gives you these nice highlights leading up to her face. If you want to learn a little bit more about how you can use a ring light, so the differences between having it close and further back, I actually have another Kelby training, which is Fashion Flair for Portrait and Wedding Photography, and I do a studio section that goes a little bit more in depth on this quality of light. But really what you want to take away is that it's constant, that I personally prefer to shoot with a wide aperture, and you're looking for things that make use of the ring light. Another unusual modifier that you might consider using is something called a spot projector. And what it does is it'll take a normal strobe ahead, and it puts an equivalent of a snoot, so it focuses the light. It's like a Fresnel light, so it'll focus it, and you can put different gobos in between. So what that means is, if you see these right here, you can put different shapes and patterns in front of the light, and then it will project those shapes and patterns onto your subject. So any Roscoe gels that they make, that you can get them from pretty much any camera or kind of theater store, you can order them and you can put them in front of the light. So for example, if I wanted to do something that felt film noir inspired, I might put a Venetian blind pattern. Or I could do something that looked like light coming through leaves on the trees, or really any shape that I wanted, triangles, stars. Right now I'm just going to play with a basic circle, and the images that I want to create have a really moody, dramatic, romantic film noir feel. And so it's just a single light. I can, if I wanted to make it more dramatic, I could add additional backlights, like maybe she was wandering down the street and those are the street lights and she's in the spotlight. You could do that, or you can just keep it basic. So what I can do is if I project so it's around her body, I can make it so that that circle also appears in the background, so it looks like she's in a spotlight. Or I can come in really, really close and just have the circle on part of her face, or whatever shape that you may have. So we're going to play with that a little bit. Otherwise, there's not much to it. The key is you're going to use your modeling light, and it's only going to give you a very small circle. And just going to kind of move it around the face. I recommend that what you look for is the edges be really, really crisp. So you can actually focus the light up on the modifier. You can actually focus it, so it will give you a crisp edge. It makes it really, really dramatic. Right now, I've styled her for a film noir look. So this dress is actually from the 1930s. It's vintage and it's been restored. I have kind of more dramatic hair, a dark lip, and so the styling for me to set a tone has to match the quality of light as well. So we're going to make you very dramatic in film noir now. Right there. Hold on, don't move. Let's do that. All right, Good, all right. So I have this really contrasty, dramatic light on her face, and right now I'm using the shape that it projects in the background as part of my composition. I don't have to do that. I can completely cut it out and have the shape be the center of the focus, but right now I'm going to play with the shadows. It's the same thing, keep your head that way. Beautiful. Great. Perfect. Very dramatic. I'm going to back up and get at a low angle so I can get kind of a full length shot. And if I were close, I could use a wide angle lens, but that's going to make her feet look much larger. So if I back up and use a longer lens, I'm using the 24 to 70. If I use it at 70, it's going to compress it, and it's going to make her look tall and slender without making the lower half of her body look larger. Thank you. Beautiful. Perfect. That looks amazing. That's beautiful. All right, now I'm going to have you face this direction. Yep, and pop out the elbows. So turn your hips that way as well. Yep, towards your right. Keep going, keep turning to your right. Good. Perfect. So in the last shots, I was shooting the 24 to 70. I did a few where I backed up and zoomed in to compress the shot but still make her look tall and slender. I was purposely playing with the shadow in the background to make it look like she's highlighted by a spotlight. But now what we've done is we've moved her in much closer, we've moved the light in closer, and now I'm just kind of casting the shadow of the circle on her face. So actually only part of her face will be illuminated, and it makes for a really dramatic light. So just stay exactly like that. Perfect. And I'm using the 70 to 200 to get that dramatic shape. Take a look. Perfect. Look great. Beautiful. So if you don't have a pico spot projection, this is actually created by Broncolor. If you don't have something like this, another option you could consider is actually just using a regular projector. So you can find interesting shapes, put it on the projector, and project it on the subject. The key is you need a high resolution projector, otherwise you will see the pixels, and it will actually have some kind of aberrations and coloration around the outside of the pixels. The other thing that you want to consider as well is you need to make sure your shapes are high resolution, because that will pixelate as well. It's not going to be the same quality. You won't get the same contrast, you won't get the same crispness of light, but if you don't have access to one of these or you don't want to rent them, that is another solution. We're still only playing with just a single light for fashion lighting, but now again we're still playing with really unusual modifiers. And right now we're using something called a UV light adapter, and this is made by Broncolor. And so what it'll do is it'll take any of the strobes that you have that are Broncolor and turn them into black light, UV light. And that's just fun. Now if you're going for practical, of course not, but it makes really, really beautiful images. So what I've done is, again, I play to what the lighting is based on the hair and makeup that I'm using. So I make sure the hair and makeup fits. In this case, I asked my fantastic hair and makeup artist, Griselle, to bring some UV makeup, and you can get it online. You can buy UV items. There's a ton of different sites online that you can buy UV jewelry, makeup, whatnot. So I asked her to create a beautiful texture, and so she blew the powder on her face. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot that with this UV adapter. Now the thing that you should remember, a couple things, is that it's still has a direction and quality of light. So if you want to use reflectors, you can still use a reflector. So if I think that the light is a little bit too dramatic under the chin, I can add a reflector there. If I want the light to be more dramatic across the face, I can change the angle, I can raise it up. So just because you've switched it to black light doesn't mean that it's not still light. It acts and behaves the same way. So right now I'm going to shoot a little bit, add some reflectors, change the angle a little bit, and I'm also going to shoot with my 150 macro so I can really play up those beautiful textures. All right, so here we go. And I'm going to have you keep your eyes closed the entire time for me. Beautiful. Good. All right, great. Really beautiful. So now I'm going to have you add a reflector in for me, right underneath the chin. So same thing, hold still, really close. Great, close your eyes. And turn your head back that way. Good. Roll it towards the light a little bit. Nice. Chin down a tiny bit. Great. Mouth closed for me. Great. If you don't have one of these adapters, you can just use black light, but it won't be as crisp and you won't have as much control. So there's obviously, again, there's so many of these different lighting situations where you can pick different solutions, less expensive, do it yourself, but if you can pick a solution like this where you can actually rent the piece, it's going to give you more control. Right now I've switched to the 150 macro because I love the textures on her face. So if I can get really, really close and shoot really tight, I can get the UV light to really make those textures pop. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to have you close your eyes. Perfect. I'm going to get really tight in there. And I might add a reflector. We'll see. Great. Beautiful. Stay right there. So right now I'm zoomed in, so I'm just getting her eyelashes and the textures around her face. One of the reasons that I'm drawn to fashion photography is because there are no rules. So when you're creating an image, it doesn't have to be about that individual. It doesn't have to be storytelling. What you can do is you can make it about texture, about color, about pattern, and that's what we've done here. So we've covered her face with powder, and I'm playing with, I'm looking at it and I'm able to see the textures. I'm able to create really graphic shapes, really graphic patterns, and so it doesn't have to follow any rules. So I can shoot with a UV light if I want. I can get in really close with a macro if I want. That's why in fashion photography, if I want to overexpose the background and have lens flare, I can do that. And that's one of the reasons that I'm drawn to this type of photography.